Hey, it's Karel. Behind me is Rodeo Drive. You've heard about it. It is world famous. If it costs a lot of money, you'll find it right over there. In the cars going by me could be Justin Bieber or Justin Timberlake or Barbra Streisand. This is where the beautiful people come to shop and come to play. I used to in high school, 1978. I used to come up here and buy designer jeans and get a perm at Vidal Sassoon because Barbra Streisand did. I swore back then that I'd want to shop on this street one day, that I would have arrived. Well, now I look at things a little bit differently. I see this and I see exclusion. I see something that 99% of America cannot participate in, particularly me. Why? I'm in a bankruptcy. That's right, I'm a talk show host on TV telling you I'm in a bankruptcy. And in a time when people will tell you the last time they had sex, but not how much money they make, talking about money is almost taboo. Yet we should be talking about it, particularly our bottom lines and how we can navigate waters that sometimes get choppy. We're going to talk with an attorney, Leon Bayer, who's going to tell us how we can get through the waters of bankruptcy and if it's good for you or not. We're also going to take a look around Rodeo Drive and see how the other half lives and kind of wonder, would we really want to be them anyway? I mean, how much can you pay for a ring?
You're not gonna go there, are you?
Oh, yes, I am. All right, we're here with Leon Bayer, and Leon, we are surrounded by nothing but money. Van Cleef and our pals and Rodeo Drive and just the height of the 1%. So I thought we should talk about bankruptcy here.
This is a good place to talk about bankruptcy. It's dripping money and there's no better topic.
And you've mentioned that Rembrandt, whose paintings are for sale right around the corner for millions, he filed bankruptcy.
Rembrandt had an enormously famous bankruptcy. What's really interesting is all the bankruptcy court records from that case still exist.
Now, let me ask you, in today's world of money, this is only for the 1%. America's broke. Why do you think they're afraid of bankruptcies?
People have a historical fear of bankruptcy because 150 years ago, people who were insolvent, couldn't pay their debts, would go to debtor's prison. Well, nobody wants that. That's 150 years ago. Bankruptcy today is very modern. It's designed to relieve you of debts that you're not going to be able to repay and let you have a fresh start in life. You'll keep most everything you have. Most people who file a bankruptcy don't give up anything, and they get rid of their debts and they got right back to work right back to work. Right. They got right back to work rebuilding their credit, I should say.
But it's harder nowadays than it was before. It's not the same.
Bankruptcy is much more difficult today, but it's because it's more work. It's not that the laws have excluded people so much. It's just where it used to take 50 pages of paper to do a bankruptcy 5 years ago, today it takes 100 pages of paper, but it's still very doable.
How many people in America do you think need to do this but won't because of the stigma?
I would say in an average year, you have about 1 million Americans who file bankruptcy, and there are probably another 2 million that should, but because of the stigmas or their inherent fears or distrust of legal system, they don't do it, but they really need to.
It costs about, what, $2,000 all in to file a bankruptcy, right?
That's about right with the court filing fee. Oftentimes it can be much less. I myself charge people according to ability to pay. I don't gouge people. I'm not in this to make money. Well, I want to make a living. I'll be honest with you. I want to make a living, but you do not get rich representing folks who are broke.
How much of this is a facade? How many clients do you have that are driving around in Mercedes and everything else and they can't afford it?
I have many clients who drive around in Mercedes. I have clients filing bankruptcy who actually live in Beverly Hills. Not that many, but a few.
And so you never know. When you see someone, you never really know their financial status.
You never do. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I have represented bishops, I've represented priests, I've represented doctors, lots of lawyers, dentists, people who work in these stores.
Yeah, the employees.
Farm workers, you name it, I've handled the case.
Couple myths. You can keep your house usually if you're in a bankruptcy.
In California, it is almost always certain that you're going to keep your house, but the best way to find out is you talk to a bankruptcy lawyer. And the beauty of this is almost all consumer bankruptcy lawyers will give people a free consultation because we know the clients are broke. The money is very short. They're not going to spend money unless they think they're going to get something sure. So we provide free consultations.
Is the system set up for the debtor or for the creditors?
The system is really set up for the debtor. This is, shall we retake this? Okay. The system is really set up for the debtors. This is a system that the creditors hate. The banks can't stand the fact that there are bankruptcy laws allowing people to shed their debts. And they consistently lobby Congress to make the laws more complicated and more complicated because the theory is we can still have a bankruptcy law that gives people relief, but if it's so complex and so hard to do it, then more people won't be able to get through the process.
A lot of people do it improper. They do it without a lawyer. Is that recommended?
It's not recommended. Bankruptcy is just not something to do yourself while you sit at the kitchen table. It is so complicated. Even most lawyers should not handle a bankruptcy. Bankruptcy really is a highly specialized area of the law. California, in particular, recognizes bankruptcy as an important specialty in the law and certifies just a very small number of lawyers as certified bankruptcy specialists. California, there are about 120 certified bankruptcy specialists. I'm one of them. There are in California about 250,000 licensed attorneys right now. Out of 250,000, about 120 certified bankruptcy specialists.
So they're a rare breed is what we are trying to say. Now, before we go, and I'm going through and I make it very public. It has not been easy on me. It's emotionally, it's been kind of trying. I had to get through my head that I don't own anything anymore. The trustee, in effect, until my bankruptcy is discharged, he owns my house and he owns my coats and he owns everything until he says otherwise.
Well, Karel, you're partially correct. I've seen your wardrobe, and I'm not sure who would want it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. The filing of a bankruptcy does two things immediately and automatically. It creates a stay to protect you. It's a automatic restraining order protecting the person who files from all of their creditors, including the IRS. It stops foreclosure, wage garnishments. The other thing that happens that people don't really understand is it creates an estate. The estate is composed of everything you own. Most people who file a bankruptcy get to keep everything in their estate because it's not worth anything. Right. Or even if it is, it's in a category of property that the law says you ought to retain and keep for your own fresh start into the future. But technically, everything you own, lock, stock, and barrel, even what you're wearing, becomes property of the estate for a temporary period of time until the trustee can investigate the case, see if you own something that is more valuable than what the law lets you keep, and then the case gets closed, you get your discharge, and you move on with life.
If someone is out there and they're stressed right now, do you recommend, even if they think they don't qualify, do you recommend they speak to an attorney?
They should speak to an attorney, but not just a lawyer. They need to speak with a bankruptcy specialist because there are many cases that I've handled where people have been told that they cannot file a bankruptcy, and they've already been to several lawyers to say, sorry, you make too much money, and I know how to get it done. Not always. I'm not a miracle worker, but there's a lot of things a specialist knows that the jack of all trades, the lawyer who'll do anything that walks in the door, those guys are not the ones to go.
What I'm hearing is this is like when you're ill. If you have a special illness, you go see a specialist. So if you're thinking about this, go see a specialist. Leon, thank you. I'm going to go walk about and look at all the stuff I can't afford, and even if I could, the trustee would look good in.
Well, I'm not going to buy you anything.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd have to turn it over anyway. Karel's Life in Segments is underwritten by the Buena Vista Cafe. The Buena Vista Cafe is located on Hyde Street in San Francisco at the Wharf or at thebuenavista.com. Esther, did you? Oh, she did. How many of you get left little treats in your bathtub from your kitty? Now, either it's because they don't want to use their litter box because it stinks, and that's your fault, or they might not even have one because, like me, they're an indoor-outdoor cat. Kitty litter and the smell of it is a big problem across our country, bigger than you may know. And guess what? As you drive your Prius or have your solar panels, if you're using kitty litter, you could be destroying the environment. You could be contributing to strip mining and toxic landfills. Oh yeah, we're gonna tell you all about the cost of kitty litter today as we talk to Norman and Victoria Strozdock. They've invented the Cat of Thrones, and it's a way to make your cat use your toilet. Wouldn't that be great? Your cat just uses your toilet like everybody else. It's possible. We're gonna show you how today on segment Pet, the cost of kitty litter. Okay, Esther, hold on. Yeah, she puts up with the dogs around here. She really does. You know how cats just tolerate things. Sure. This, of course, is Esther. And here we have Norman and Victoria. And Esther wants nothing more than to get away. So we'll put her up here right now. Yes, there's my girl. Every house should have a cat, even though the dogs might disagree. Every house should have a cat. But what I just showed you in the bathroom is my biggest contention. Where'd that little pussy go? Because she normally goes outside. Okay, here's my deal. My cat normally goes outside, but then when she gets a bug up her bottom, she'll want to go in the house. Yeah. Well, you know, I hate kitty litter, and I didn't know why. And now you're going to tell me, because once I found out all the stuff about it, I couldn't even imagine. Now, you're holding a product, and we'll get to this in just a moment. This is your product, and we'll talk about what this is, and it's not, you know, it's not like a dysmorphic frisbee. We'll tell you what that's for. But first, let's talk about cats and dogs. As you know, I love both. But in America, how many pussies we got roaming around?
Well, just this last year, as a matter of fact, cats overtook dogs as a #1 pet in America.
Really?
There's over 92 million cats in American households and about 86 million dogs in American households.
Really? So the cats now outnumber the dogs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, isn't that so? Don't block your little ears. And most people use litter as the way to handle their animals' waste, right?
It is the #1 way people take care of their cats. It's been 1942 was when cat litter was first invented by
1942, really? Who invented cat litter?
Thomas Lowe.
Thomas Lowe invented. Well, God bless him. How did he do? What did he do? Just break up a rock or what?
Basically, just found some clay out in the backyard, and instead of using ashes, from fireplaces, they decided to use clay. They found out it was clumping, and it served a purpose during the time when they weren't so environmentally conscious.
Right.
Now we're finding out all these incredible environmental impacts that cat litter has.
And so all of these cats are producing a whole lot of crap. Obviously. And
quite a bit.
Before we get to the crap, I have to ask, I was lucky enough to work with my late husband in radio, but it's not often that couples work together. And I see you two both here. Victoria, how did you come to do this with him? Or is this all your fault? Or how did this happen?
Well, I guess you can say boss. We started as we got our cat, Tabby, from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Tabby from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yes, and she was basically the fault of all invention, because my husband once was cleaning a litter box and he came up with that idea.
And she kind of let out an important point, is that the reason we got this cat, it came out with a lot of enticing and coercing, is that the deal was made is that I would get her a cat for her birthday so long as she would clean a litter box. I wanted nothing to do with it because I already scooped enough of this in my life.
How many have made those deals? I'll get the app, but you have to clean up after it.
Well, it was a full 2 days later before I found myself in front of a litter box scooping the poop. And,
well, as he should be. Look how glamorous you are. Yeah. You cannot be picking up cat poo. Look at you. No.
Yeah, get all over the time.
Well, but still, come on. And now let's talk about the litter, because this is something I think most people probably never even think about. They go to their grocery store, they see whatever's on sale, they pull it out. You said that litter was invented in the 40s.
1942 by Thomas Lowe.
What did we do before that?
Yeah, we're just using soot and ashes out of the fireplace. Yeah, whatever works. Sand, bark, whatever seemed to fit. And they found out that clay was a good, at that time was a good alternative because they clumped up and they kind of covered up the things. But people don't realize so many things about cat litter. One cat litter box will contaminate a house, 1,300 square foot home. One litter box.
Contaminate with what?
All the cat has to do is scratch, the dust goes up, goes to the air duct system, contaminates 1,300 square foot. Now, if you have a cat that goes inside and outside,
That's me, yeah, there I am.
You're also bringing in what's called toxoplasmosis.
Oh, people with HIV, they have to stay away from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The cats play with dead mice or birds, and they bring in this disease.
Well, they bring them into you, yeah.
And they scratch in the litter box, the litter dust goes up, goes through your air ducts, and contaminates the home. Also, what people don't realize is that each year in the United States alone, over between 150 to 200,000 acres, which you translate that is about 450 square miles every year, is strip mined to produce cat litter. Clay cat litter still makes up about 80% of the entire cat litter.
Strip mine for cat litter?
For the first 2 feet of soil. That's all they do. For 2 feet of soil, 450 square miles strip mine. And then each year, 9 million tons of that same cat litter goes back into landfills as toxic waste. It never decomposes.
That's horrible for the environment. That's terrible.
Double impact.
Yeah. How come people don't know this?
I didn't know it myself until we got involved in this, and here we are.
And then what about that clump? You know, there's this guy in Texas. He's made so much money, he's got this castle, really a castle in the middle of Texas. You know what he made his money in? He invented the stuff that makes it clump together.
Sure.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, does that help or hurt the problem?
Well, it depends on who you're asking. You're asking the person or you're asking the cat.
Right.
Cats don't want to be in a dirty litter box. The clumping aspect is all made to accommodate.
For us.
You're going to go out down the aisle and see a 75-foot long, 6-foot high aisle of cat litter.
Yeah.
That's because it's citrus scented, lemon scented, lime scented, forest scented, fresh scent, whatever all these odors, not to pacify the cat, they're meant to pacify us. And you know, another thing that people don't realize is that the number one reason that cats are brought into the veterinarian is because of urinary tract infections.
Oh, UTIs, yeah.
Cats go in a litter box, they get
return to the shelter.
Yeah, and they return to shelters because people don't like cleaning the litter box because they're wondering why is a cat peeing outside the litter box. The reason the cat's peeing outside the litter box is because we are not cleaning the litter box appropriately. Right. The cat smells it, they say, I'm not going to like this, so I'm going to go do someplace else.
So it's a danger to the environment. It causes strip mining. It fills our landfills with toxic landfill, and in your home, it can expose you to germs and toxins just by its existence.
Oh, and we're picking on cats. You may recall in California, our illustrious Governor Schwarzenegger at the time decided to pass a ban on cat litter as far as flushing it down the toilet, because someone came to him and said, help, help, our sea otters are dying because of toxoplasmosis. Our sewer treatment centers were not set up to kill toxoplasmosis, so when the sewage went out there, clams were absorbing toxoplasmosis, the sea otters were eating it, sea otters were dying.
From cat litter?
Well, this is what they're saying, is that it was because of cats using cat litter and cat litter being flushed. What they failed to recognize, what our governor failed to do, is just simply go into Google and put in toxoplasmosis, and the very first thing that comes up, CDC, Center for Disease Control, specifically in the very first paragraph says that 32% of the American population has toxoplasmosis.
So it's coming from us.
It's coming from us.
Not the cats.
No, it's coming from a combination.
Well, a combination.
Yeah.
Now, there's 3 people in America that have decided to do something about it, and you're one of them. And you started a company that is going to do something about this. Now, if you could solve my cat fight with Esther, I would just love that, because this is my bane of my existence. And so a couple companies, they don't do it like you do, but there's a couple companies out there, and yours is one of them, and yours is called Cat of Thrones.
Yes.
And this is different because we have to come up with something new, obviously. We can't keep strip mining. We can't keep... I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? We have to come up with a new way.
It's a way of the horse-drawn wagon. You know, the automobile came along, and the horse-drawn. Well, they're still around, but you know they're few and far between.
And we're reaching 100 million cats. We're at 96 million.
The cat litter industry is a $10 billion a year industry.
Oh my God, that's a lot of money.
Again, that's why you see, when you go to the supermarket, you see that 75-foot long, 8-foot high aisle of cat litter, because it is a huge...
So you've invented this. Now this Cat of Thrones, it goes on top of the toilet.
It goes right underneath the human seat, so the human seat sits up here.
Oh, okay.
Right there. And we use dissolving cat litter, which is environmentally safe. It's no chemicals, no additives to it. It dissolves completely in water.
So you keep a little bit of litter in here?
During the training cycle, because you see there's little drainage holes throughout here, so when a cat pees, you just pour water, it goes right through, and then each one of these rings actually pop out. So each week, a ring pops out, and eventually all of this is gone, and all you have is left is the platform and the seat for the cat to go on.
Oh, so these are like training wheels.
They're
Stages.
Yeah.
stages.
That's
They go
this
away-
is when he's
go
a
away
new.
completely.
This is a, and so by doing this could prevent tons and tons of litter being put into and less strip
Literally.
mining happening.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you. It seems like an obvious thing. Why haven't we been doing it before now? Do other countries do this, or is it just?
I just think it's a matter of convenience and people not wanting to find out about it. I mean, there wasn't really a big push for it. People didn't recognize it, myself included, my wife included. We didn't know that there was almost 500 square miles.
Well, yeah, because
strip
these people
mine.
are out there driving Priuses and shopping at Whole Foods Market, and meanwhile they're strip mining for their kitty.
Absolutely.
So that just doesn't make any sense. So you put the dissolving litter up in here. And then it trains them over time, and that way it's not intrusive to you, and you don't, because at the beginning you'd have to move it out and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it snaps off. This stays on the toilet, so when a person wants to use it, you unsnap it, put it down.
Cool beans.
And when it's done, you put it
Or if you
back
have
in
two
place.
bathrooms and you don't really use the other one.
Once these are all gone, the human seat goes out over the top, so you don't even got to remove it. It actually
Right.
stays in place.
But the kitty still feels like they've got a little launching
Yes.
pad. Well, that's wonderful. I can't wait to have my kitty do it. But more importantly, I had no idea about the cost of kitty litter. When I mean the cost, I mean the environmental impact,
It's incredible.
the strip. It is beyond incredible.
If people would have known that they could toilet train their cat in the 40s, we never would have cat litter
Right,
as
yeah.
it is today. As a matter of fact, you can go to YouTube right now and you could see hundreds of thousands of videos of cats pooping and peeing in a sink or in a bathtub
Yeah.
because they realize that when they're
Esther goes in the bathtub when it
goes there,
rains.
That's because they recognize that their odor goes down that drain, and that's the cat's number one objective. When they do their business, they want to get rid of odor.
Well, I want them to too.
Yeah.
It's my number one
Absolutely.
objective. Doesn't Tabby? Nothing smells like that cat pee. Oh my god. Oh my god.
it's
It's a
horrid.
new level of hell. Well, great. This is a cool invention. There are 3 manufacturers of these. Cat of Thrones are from this couple right here in front of us, good old Norman and Victoria, and they're touring the country. You guys are on like a rainbow tour with it, right?
Just came back from Florida.
And everyone's loving it, aren't they? They're
We
just
took first prize at Super Zoo for Best New Cat Product, and at Global Pet Expo, the world's largest pet show, we took another award for Best New Cat Product. So we're just
yeah,
walking
people
around.
are absolutely loving it, and because it's time, it's high time that cats learned some manners. Now I only have one last question. Can you get them to close the door?
I thought you were going to ask if they could flush.
No. Well, Hey, it's Karel, and life in segments would not be possible without the underwriting of Cedarside.com. Cedarside.com uses Texas cedar oil to make safe, effective flea and tick and pest control for you and your pet. Hey, yeah. It is the Karelcast. I am Karel. That is my friend Thea Austin. Life Maze, a song I'm lucky enough to have co-written. All right, gay marriage is in the news and the sanctity of marriage and marriage. But let's be real, 50% of marriages statistically end in divorce. Now, I love my kids, and when I say kids, I mean my kids. But my kids have 4 paws. No, it's not a genetic defect. They're supposed to have them. And that's because my pets are my children. And many, many, many of you are exactly the same way. And that's why I decided to get Kristen Lowe on the phone. She specializes in things like puppy prenups and whether or not you need them. And it is something that one must consider in the changing world, because the last thing you want is to have some knockdown drag out over the dog. And so, Kristen, let's talk about that. First of all, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's talk about this. If you're going into a relationship and it's serious and he or she has proposed to you and you are bringing a pet to the relationship, should you actually ask for a prenup about that pet?
Well, it depends on how the ownership of the puppy is. So the
And
most
whether or not
important
you really
thing
want to
is-
get married, because you ask me for a prenup and I'll say, get out, out.
Exactly, and people don't understand. I mean, our pets are our children. I'm a pet mother as well, and
I met your
cannot
pets online,
imagine
yes.
having to fight over my babies.
Right, you have yours online, Angel and...
And Murphy, yes.
Angel and Murphy, they're at KristenLowe.com under your pet blog, which is where I found out about this. When I Googled, pet rights and stuff, your name came up. I read your blog at Kristen Lowe. It's KristenLoweLaw.com, right?
That's
yes,
correct.
that's where I read your blog about this. And I thought, wow, that really does complicate a divorce. Now, my late husband, Andrew, he passed away. But Owen was a chow chow and bonded with him. It was like his dog. Allie sort of bonded with me. Had we ever gotten divorced, there might have been a fight about keeping them together. And I can't imagine what that's like going through. I bet it gets ugly.
It does get ugly because, unlike children, you can't rationalize it with a pet. You can't explain to your beloved pets why you're no longer seeing mommy or daddy on a regular basis. It's heartbreaking, and especially given the fact that, when we have human children, we expect them to outlive us.
Right.
The reality is that with our fur children, they're not going to outlive us, and their days are limited on this earth, and it's so important that you want as much time with them as possible, and it's just devastating in a divorce.
Let's talk about the law, because the law doesn't see them as anything more than property, correct?
That is absolutely correct, and that is just one of the very, very tough...
That's draconian. That's draconian to me.
It is. It's absolutely horrible to think that my beloved golden retriever is something that should be divided by
It's
the
like
law.
a sofa, yeah.
Exactly.
The military, up until just recently, classified their working animals as, I believe, as property. And that's why they were able to actually mistreat them. And I know some people that got that changed. And maybe it's time in our law that we codify our special relationship with pets.
Absolutely. And they're starting to make some changes right now. So in cases of domestic violence, if you were to file a restraining order, you can actually get temporary pet custody.
Oh,
so that's
wow.
one small way in which California is starting to recognize how important our pets are to us.
Kristen Lowe is my guest. Kristin Law.com is where if you want to go and read this editorial about, about pets and the law. There's lots of other opinions out there about it. But Kristen, I have to tell you, this is an emerging part of law now, right? There's now this kind of law is it's family law, correct?
Correct. It is family law.
And so this pets and pet prenups and who gets custody of pets, this is becoming a bigger issue.
It is an enormous issue. And with the fertility rates going down, people are realizing that fur children are just as good, if not better, than real children.
In San Francisco, there's more dogs than there are actual children.
I believe it. Absolutely.
Is there an amicable way to work this out, like, like weekends, the same way as, should you think about it if you're facing this problem? Think about it like it were a real child. In other words, okay, you can take them on the weekends, or you can have a vacation every month. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what I advise my clients to do, which is treat them like children, come up with a parenting plan, a parenting schedule. The unique situation, though, is what I referenced before, which is they're not going to outlive us. And you have to figure out how to get on the same page with their last days and the medical bills and what sort of measures you will or will not take.
Absolutely. Kristen, I can't even thank you. There's so much we could talk about here, but the basics are this. If you really are bringing a puppy into the relationship, it's your dog, you're bringing it into the relationship, and you're in any way not sure, do get a prenup to protect your dog. And second of all, if you should find yourself in this sort of mix-up, treat the animal like it's a child and try to think about what's best for it.
Absolutely. With separate property, keep it in your name. The dog has a title. Think of it, unfortunately, like property.
So keep it in your name.
Yes, absolutely.
That includes vet bills and everything. Pay for them yourself.
Correct.
All right. Good advice, Kristen Lowe. Kristen Lowe, attorney, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I am Karel. You know I'm always on the side of pets. We'll be back right after this. We would like to thank our underwriter of Karel Life in Segments, FarmFreshFlowers.com. Farm Fresh Flowers is a local flower grower in Southern California. What's in their fields today is at the door tomorrow. FarmFreshFlowers.com.
your time.